Octave Holdings just touched $1 billion assets under management.
November of 2025 is when we hit the $1 billion in under assets.
Did you always want to become an investor, founder?
HR comes back, slips in envelope with the termination letter.
How did you grow CirrusLabs?
Let's bring in more Microsoft people like you to help us with it.
Let's say that I have about 50K. So how can I invest?
So these are the 4 or 5 things is very important for you to begin with. And then it's like,
What are the key principles from a perspective of a CEO?
and that's the moment of click where I thought, man, I could see the purpose.
Do you think if you would have the access to phone and distractions of scrolling and things, do you think you would be the Zia Rahman today?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Welcome back to another episode of Still Learning, where we sit down with people who never stop building, sharing, growing stuff in life. And I'm your host, Abdullah, and I am honored to have Zia Rahman with me. Zia Rahman is the co-founder and chief strategy officer at Octave Holdings and chairman of CirrusLabs. And at the same time, he is a great example to a lot of youth, a lot of tech leaders in Atlanta, Georgia, and absolutely at the same time is growing big time in Middle East. So a lot of people, you might be one of the investors in Octave Holdings, so you might want to watch this till the end. Welcome to Still Learning, Mr. Zia Rahman, sir.
Thank you so much. Salam, Abdullah. Salam, everyone. I am actually honored and really looking forward to this podcast.
Awesome. So let's deep dive to your early years. How was your mindset during your school days? What made you who you are right now?
Oh, wow. Now you're talking, jogging my memory a long time ago. Alhamdulillah, I think my biggest motivation was my mom. She always, I think, instilled in me something very important. I think they talk about it, but I remember even when I was growing up, I was not the tallest, biggest guy in the class, probably one of the smallest. Though I had a backbencher mentality, I always had to sit in the front because I was short. But that never stopped me from having that confidence in myself. And I think it's a lot to do with my my mother telling me that, Zia, you can achieve whatever you think of. And I know the way you think, you work. So you have a long way to go. So that kind of instilled the confidence in me. So I always was a confident kid, even though I was the smallest, probably kid in the class. I never hesitated to go on the stage. I think that is an important trait even now for kids growing up. Academics is good, and I was very good in academics. That's not a problem. But communicating, having the confidence, and ability to get in front, be on the stage, do public speaking. These are important traits you got to have. And I think that was one of the things I had when I was growing up as well, which I think has helped me in the long term as well.
Of course, I mean, where you are right now at your stage of life, that definitely shows up. Yeah. So was this something naturally in you did you always want to become an investor, founder? What's entrepreneur? Not necessarily. I don't think I had planned my life this way. Most of the times, the risk, the way things turn out for you has got a lot to do with, but it is a divine intervention. I certainly believe in that. For me, I think when I was growing up, I did not plan the way it is. I never even planned to be in the US, by the way. But it so happened I'm here. I came in 96. When I moved here in 99, I was in a corporate job, working. I had 80 team members reporting to me until 2004. I was setting up a lot of, the IT governance, a lot of the warehouse management, inventory control, supply chain within Verizon. That was the company I used to work for. Got a lot of accolades. I had 80 team members, like I said. But it so happened in 2004, one day I came back from lunch and the HR comes back and slips in an envelope with the termination letter. Oh, wow.
Alhamdulillah, it is what it is, right? So I think it turned out to be a blessing in disguise for me. This was 2004, a year after my son was born. And I've always been at the corporate level. But I decided that day that I will not work for anybody anymore. And that was something that I made, I vowed to myself that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. So that was actually the genesis of my entrepreneur journey. So 2004, I established CirrusLabs, which is the company that you're aware of, is a tech company.
and I never looked back. I think, and since IT company that I established, I've established a lot of companies. I think my serial entrepreneurship journey started with that mindset that I have the confidence in myself to do whatever I want to, with the help of Allah, with the blessing of Allah. And then I think like I said, this confidence grew. I had was from early days, but never planned it this way. Alhamdulillah, it's been a great ride.
So one termination led to building a real estate empire, tech empire. My question was, when you say that the termination thing that happened to you, were you happy with the 9 to 5 job that you were doing before the termination? How was that like?
Let me correct. I did start with the technology company first, and I'll give you the journey into the real estate. But whatever I did, even in the past, when be it the first job I had in Bombay, Mumbai, that's where I grew up, till the corporate jobs I had in the US, I was always happy. I was always content. I know one thing, whatever I did, I wanted to be good at that, right? So it never ever in my mind, played out that, oh, I'm tired of this thing I'm doing. That was never a case for me. I was never tired or never a dull day, even at work. I enjoyed thoroughly whatever I did. And I always had goals when I was in the corporate job as well. While I was working, I knew I had to be the top honcho at one day as a director, VP, even when I was a manager, I started as an intern. I knew what I wanted to be. So that that ambition was always in me. That fire was always in me. So I never had a bad day even in the work. That's why even when I left, I had 80 to 90 team members for me. And I was pretty young at that time as well. But that's how it is. So I don't think you can go and do anything without any passion. That won't work.
No, absolutely. How do you maintain yourself? You still look the same. I think you still look like how on the day you were terminated, you still look the same. So what's the secret behind your skin routine?
That is funny, but thanks for the compliment. Listen, when you become a CEO or a founder, business, while is a multiplier, has a lot of growth. It's not easy also, but you got to be very resilient. So there are days when things don't look good. There are months that don't look good. There are years that sometimes are not good. So I would say I mastered it, but I always realized that I need to be physically a little fit to take the mental stress that goes with this. That it comes as part of the game. So I've always tried to cope up with my stress, mental stress, or the mental tax that it takes on you, toll it takes on you. Made sure that physically I'm fit, because I can't imagine myself not being physically fit and doing all this stuff. So that has been, I would say, a mantra. That's something that I jumped on at very young. And I was into sports when I was young as well. I was playing sports. I used to represent the Mumbai University for swimming as well. So I did represent Bombay University for swimming. I used to play soccer. I was always playing, even post when I was working or doing my business. I used to be pretty active in sports as well. So I think that was good. And then diet, I specifically made sure that I'm disciplined about my physical health also. So I don't know if that's a secret, but alhamdulillah, that's turned out good.
No, that's beautiful that you shared. Can you talk about how did you start Octave Holding? Because right now, we all know, if you're watching this and if you are not familiar, Octave Holdings just touched $1 billion assets under management.
That's correct.
So how did you jump from tech to the real estate side of the world?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Again, CirrusLabs is the baby. That's the one I started with. It's on its own doing well. But I said 2004, 2005 is when I started the tech company. I would say 7 years into the business, around 2012. This is a personal tragedy that happened. And, it happens in life. Two of my closest friends, they passed away that year. One in a bike accident and one, he had cancer. My age, 40 years old at that time, left behind a family with 2 kids, young kids. And unfortunately, not too much of nest egg for the family. That kind of rattled me a little bit, and not to an extent that I was thinking, it changes your perspective when things like this happen in your life. Your chaddi buddy, you say the closest friends you have, and both die in the same year. It kind of shifted my mindset, saying that this can happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take away your business, your life. This is very fragile. So that kind of, changed my mindset to say, okay, while I was doing my tech business, there was really not too much of my own nest egg that I've created. No savings, if I say, to in layman's terms. Because in technology, the cash flow is always a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You grow the company, you have more people coming in, you have to invest more money, and cash flow becomes a challenge. You don't do well, the profits deplete, your cash flow becomes an issue. So I really didn't have a nest egg. This is 7 years into the business of technology. So I decided that I needed to create a passive income stream, that is a monthly stream for myself that grows as a nest egg for my family in case something happens to me or my business, right? So that was the genesis, and that's the idea of starting Octave, because with a lot of assets, you see a lot of assets you can invest for passive income: stocks, equities, bonds, and real estate. And there are multiple alternative assets. For me, real estate made more sense because it's tangible. I'm a little conservative in that sense when I come to investment. It's tangible, it's cyclical, but if you buy at the right value and you execute it well, then you can generate a cash yield on a regular basis. So I started for myself, Octave. Bought some retail centers in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Myself was successful. Then friends and families said, oh, we also want to join. So then I syndicated for the next properties where people came together, formed an LLC, and then we invested a bigger real estate. And that's how it started. And then I crossed paths with my partner. He was doing that on his own with his friends, Sridhar Marupudi. And when we met, we had the same mindset, principal, preservation, conservative underwriting, and steady cash flow on a monthly basis, and with some growth in the end. And we said we decided to join hands. That was then, and since then, like you said, it's been a great ride, and we are now $1 billion in assets under management.
How does that word $1 billion sound to you?
Alhamdulillah, I know. Like I said, I didn't think about this number when I started, but I would say after COVID, me and she were sitting down, I would say 3 to 4 years ago. And you know what Abdullah, the most important thing is the niyyah that I had, or the intention I had for my family to create, a nest egg, the same niyyah or intention I have for all the investors coming in. I'm very conservative with our underwriting. We want principal preservation. And that is why we started growing. And this is all because of the investors that joined us. And, it couldn't have happened without that. It's a great team. We have a solid team. When I started and she started, we were, doing our own due diligence and doing our own analysis. Now it's very scientific. Our underwriting, we have like 40, 50 parameters, how we underwrite a property, how we structure the fund. And alhamdulillah, the people have started growing referral, right? It's been friends of family, family of friends, friends of friends. That's how we don't advertise too much. But so these people, when they came together, and I think back 3 years ago, when this was still, growing the right direction, Sri and I remember in this office downstairs, we said, I think by 2025, we'll reach the $1 billion.
Wow. And that...
So, yeah, and that happened, alhamdulillah. In November of 2025 is when we hit the $1 billion in under assets.
Because you just mentioned friends and family as well. What are the key principles from a perspective of a CEO? What do you see in a person when you're hiring them, or at least becoming a partner with them? What are the things very important to you that you don't compromise?
For investors or for employees? What do you think?
Employees and your partners.
First of all, it's very important who you associate yourself with, okay, around you. For me, for partners specifically, right? Even in CirrusLabs, now have partners. Octave, Sri is my partner. It's very important the values and the mindset are the same. The mindset definitely has to be the same. You have to think alike, right? You have to have the goals aligned like that. You have to execute, in a harmony. But even the values are very important. Sri is similar. He wants to make sure that the investor's money is paramount, So we always are looking for the investment because we ourselves are investors in the fund.
Mm-hmm.
We are the biggest investors. So the values have to align. The people has to be, integrity is important with the partners. Honesty is important. And similarly, the same mindset. So these are the 4 or 5 things is very important for you to begin with. And then it's like a dating, and then an engagement, and then a marriage. Hopefully all that goes well. And then it becomes a long, successful marriage in business.
And that's a great example. For someone who's watching this, and let's say, like myself, right, I'm just beginning my career. Let's say that I have about 50K cash. So how can I invest in Octave Holding? 50,000 enough for me to start or begin with?
See, honestly, I always encourage people to start investing in a passive income young, because there are multiple reasons for that. While you have your own day job or business, which is active for the person, whatever savings you have, money can make money, right? So you do invest in a way where you can get a compounding effect. So to answer your question, I always encourage young people to invest. We always make exceptions for young people. I think our minimum ticket size is 100, but for young folks who want to start, we will make exemption so that they can start, they can feel, they can understand the philosophy of real estate investment and probably learn from us and can do their own, which is very important. So if you come on with Octave as an investor, more than the investment where it's very open and transparent, sitting with us at the team, whatever you learn is also going to be important. But I would start young, because cash yield dividends that come for you, that can be compounded. But only thing I would advise is every year, consistently start reinvesting, because that compounding effect is what you see as a difference. It's no different than a 401k, but here you are more conservative in tangible assets. So you have to have some goals. Start young, keep reinvesting while you work on your core active business or your work. So but create a passive stream, just because in case your active job or business goes away, you have on the sidelines in your savings account or your account a passive income stream coming on a monthly basis. It's very important so that you don't fall off the cliff. And that's the key. If you have that mindset, start doing, and it doesn't have to be passive income with us, but just make sure you are investing in a conservative asset that creates you passive income. And if all the things I've seen, what we do, a grocery anchored retail center or real estate, is the most conservative real estate that you can get. And we can talk more about why commercial versus residential, but that's the reason.
So how did you approach real estate differently from the traditional firms?
So, see, real estate also comes in different philosophies of investment in real estate. Is multiple angles. You can buy commercial, you can buy residential, you can buy land, which is like a buy and hold, usually in the land. People, you invest do land banking. People do residential like townhomes, single family homes to create passive income. And then the people invest in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate are multiple kind of real estate. There's hotels, there's offices, there is retail, there's multifamily. So there are multiple options. So the way we are different is because we don't invest in a land and hold on, because we don't get a passive income the next day. Our mantra, our philosophy is you invest in something, the next month you should get dividends. So you buy something, you get the revenue minus expenses, and you should get passive yield, called the cash yield. So the yield has to be immediate. Plus we have some appreciation on the property.
When you say annual appreciation?
Yeah, annual appreciation that keeps appreciating, which you realize when you exit the property. So what we target is 9 to 12% cash yield that you can get on an annual cash yield that you get paid every month. The real estate appreciates around 8 to 10% annualized. And there's a formula for that also, because in commercial real estate, what we invest in, which is different, is we are investing in grocery anchored retail. What grocery anchored retail means is these are, I call, essential necessity based retail. People have to buy groceries. Roti, kapda aur makan. People have to get groceries. Even if the economy slows down, people will stop going and spending and eating food outside and will stop with the discretionary spend. But they do have to buy groceries. Even COVID has taught us people stay in, they have to buy groceries. Even your Instacart that gets your delivery gets it from your neighborhood, from your neighborhood store. So there is a Publix, Kroger, Aldi, Sprouts, your local Suvidhas or H Mart. This is grocery store anchor retail. That's what we buy. So that's why we're different. I call it necessity based. Everything around that, like a nail salon, great clips, restaurants. These are experiential retail. I call it Amazon proof retail because people have to experience and go there. They can't buy this on Amazon, correct?
Yeah.
So this is, I call Amazon proof. So that's the kind of retail centers we buy. And I was telling you, we get 9 to 12% cash yield from the rents that we collect minus expenses. And the appreciation of this happens because the rents of these tenants appreciate on an annual basis 2 to 3%. So every dollar increase increases the value.
Mm-hmm.
So if in a retail center there are 15, 30 tenants, we buy 4 or 5 like these properties in one fund. So we have like 100, 150 tenants. So that value that is increased along with the annual cash yield is how we do it. Okay. And over the 5 years or 7 years, once we start selling these properties in a fund, we expect to get around, I would say, 18 to 22% return, average annualized return.
Annually.
Yeah, annually, which is amazing because I have done a lot of businesses. Even when you do businesses, your EBITDA or your percentage NOI, they call it, EBITDA is not more than in teens. Sometimes it's single digits, sometimes it's in teens. You can ask most of the businessmen. It's very hard to get more than 13, 14, 15% EBITDA. I really feel that we have found something very special. Now it's all about execution, and we've been doing this very well.
Right. So since I'm pretty sure that because the way Octave Holding is growing, were there any challenges where the investors was not happy, or did you face any challenges where the expected annual return was not met?
So we always, alhamdulillah, touch wood so far, alhamdulillah, so far, our target always has been 9 to 11% cash yield. The year of COVID, we did not hit it because everything was closed for 3 months. So that year we did around 8 to 9%, less than what we expected. There has been, overall, I think all our funds have done exceptionally well and to the target, except for 2 funds that have been around 8% instead of 10% cash yield. But that's because we always have 1 or 2 tenants that will always leave. When they leave, what happens is we have to renew the leases again for these guys, right? And we have a great team that renews the lease. But for the 3 to 6 months when you renew the lease and get a new tenant, you have to do a tenant improvement. That's when the cash flow is. So usually the 10% may become 9% or 8% at max. But we had never lost money. So our target has always been between 8 to 15% cash yield, because some funds will do better than 10% that we target. So some have performed 16%, just cash yield I'm talking about. But some have done 2 points less. So it is a range. It's a real estate. So it will fluctuate. But the key is the execution of how we renew the leases, how do we negotiate with the tenants, how do we fill back the empty boxes. That's all thanks to the great team that we have at Octave. And again, so far so good, alhamdulillah. And we are become more and more conservative. In fact, very conservative every year. This year we're going to bring medical offices also into our fund, and medical offices is very stable. So we'll have a mix of grocery anchor retail and medical offices where the doctors or the dentists are mostly our tenants. These guys sign 15-year leases. So we are more stable with a 15-year lease. And dentists, as you know, once they establish, they don't go. So we have some good plans for this year as well.
Well, I really hope that I will be investing at Octave Holding soon.
Inshallah.
Let's just take one step back to the day where you got terminated.
Yeah.
And then how was that feeling that specific day? And then can you just take us to how did you grow CirrusLabs? So from day one, if you can just do a quick recap on that.
No, absolutely. So it's kind of vivid in my mind also when the HR came in and gave me the termination and told me my severance and this is how it happened. I don't think I was rattled so much because, even though it was surprising because I was doing very good there in the company and our systems that I built was state of the art at that point of time, a lot of accolades. But it's sort of a little bit of anger, I think, saying why, after doing all this stuff, why did they, let go me and the entire team? In fact, the whole floor was gone because there were 80 team members under me. But I remember when I called back my wife's my son, Ryan, was 1 year old. He was 2003 born, so 1 year old. And I told my wife, I think I'm going to just do business. I'm not going to work for anybody. She was a little more nervous than I was because we are only a 1-year-old kid.
Money has to flow.
1-year-old kid, and the money has to come. And she said, no, this is easy, 9 to 5, get the salaries. But I was confident in myself. I always, and again, it goes back to what my mom was telling Zia, if you want to do something, you can do it. So, alhamdulillah, I think I was confident what I will do. But then I started doing business consulting on my own. In fact, after a few months, Verizon called me back to fix some problems they were still having with the supply chain. So I did go back there, but in between I went to CDC, Center for Disease Control.
Mm-hmm.
They had some challenges with their agents who used to go in the field. And I don't remember, you're probably too young. There was something called anthrax, some bioterrorism that was pretty prominent at that time. So the agents would go in the field, scribble something, come back, and they would give it to the admin, and it would take 1 month for 30 of these agents for the reports to be consolidated. I just quickly realized they had something called a HP Compact and a Palm Pilot, which is very old kind of mobile. It's not a phone, like a tablet, handheld device. So what I did is I took their common questions that they had. I asked the agents, tell me a list of common denominator questions. I was a little bit of programming then. I programmed them for the Palm Pilots, and they would go to the field. Instead of writing on a piece of paper, they would click on the questions, come back, put the handheld device on a cradle that would upload to the server, and the report, which would take 30 days, would be ready in one night, overnight. So the CDC guy says, man, this is brilliant. So why don't you bring more people like you? So I was in the Microsoft Compact Framework kind of technology. This is, let's bring in more Microsoft people like you to help us with growing this solution. And I said, okay, I have to form an LLC, and I started with staffing. So that's how CirrusLabs, at that time called Infotech Prism, started. So I started with staffing with Microsoft Compact Framework .NET people that I started.
So basically giving them talent
From, yes, in the Microsoft stack.
And then do you think Zia Rahman today would be the Zia Rahman today if you would have been actively using social media? I mean, back in the days, there was no concept of Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
But do you think if you would have the access to phone and distractions of scrolling and things, do you think you would be the Zia Rahman today?
It's a very hard question. I cannot conjecture that and tell you what I would have been. I know I like, to do sports and entertainment and all this is good. I don't know. Honestly, it's a good question. But the focus and discipline, if I didn't have, it could have been a challenge. But it's very hard to say. I should think about it more. But honestly, don't know that answer. But
because I tell this to my dad that he is lucky that he hasn't been through the adolescence age of what we're facing right now. I mean, for me, I don't want this to be about me, but what is your day-to-day life looks like from morning to night, if you can elaborate?
Yeah, but you know what? I'll answer that question one more time.
Sure.
But I think if I had a social media, if I was more astute in social media, I could probably have been, I could have used it more productively in a better way, in the way you are doing things. I'm so proud of you that you are using it as an influencer. And I think I might have used it that way better because I'm okay in social media. I'm not savvy enough to use it, but maybe that would have been a good use of social media. I could have used it with a better purpose. But I think that's everybody should do that as well. So if they can create content like you're doing, rather than this being a passive audience, I think that's the way to go.
So do you sometimes feel missing out on, there is a term called FOMO, right? Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
I mean, I checked your Instagram.
Yeah.
You have about 200 followers.
Yeah.
But then if you look into your bank account, you're sitting somewhere else. So, this day and age, people with money, they have tons of followers. So do you feel that is something you want to do, or you're happy with where you are?
No, it's honestly, I don't have a FOMO, but I think I could use it for, more productively, especially in the field I am, where like I said, I was always a closed network of investors in Octave. But yeah, that could definitely be a better use of social media to grow. Maybe inshallah, from a billion to the next billion, we may use it more.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. So I was reading this article, not article, but from LinkedIn, that Octave Holding also does NFS services, or I think this is particularly about you, that you also help the survivors of domestic violence.
This was when it started, this organization, when it started. I mean, of course, I wanted to be part of the community. I'm associated with, everybody has their own purpose and their own resources. My resources, what I can do, sitting outside and not volunteering is something that I don't, but I can support monetarily some of these organizations. But this was formed, I believe it is pre-COVID, 2017, 2018. This was Noor Family Services. They were just forming because there were a lot of women who were going through domestic violence here. That's when I helped them set it up. So that is one. And again, there are multiple ways to contribute. This is one way of doing it. But I'm always proud to be part of any nonprofits which I can help. So, in fact, my son has started a refugee uplift with some of his buddies in school to educate refugees that come into Clarkston. And we just can push them, we can help them, whatever we can. So, yeah, always happy to look at a good cause and support from outside.
And also, recently I was going through your LinkedIn. You reposted this from Octave Holding that you and I believe it was your son, along with the Octave team, that you were traveling to Jamaica for some
relief
effort. Relief funds.
So this is all my son. In fact, my colleague Brad, he told me that there's a mission to help some families that were devastated. In fact, the whole country of Jamaica, because of this hurricane that came, Irene, I think, last year. And I kind of helped from the resources side, and our whole Octave team, in fact, helped put the medical supplies, the sanitary supplies. We bought it, we packaged it, and then we sent a plane to Jamaica. And honestly, when I was just talking to Rayan about this, he volunteered, says, I want to go on this mission. So he signed up. This was to Jamaica, where there was no lights, still standing water, food was scarce, I think. And he said, I will go. So he went with Brad and two other nurses and doctors and some other volunteers, 2 or 3. And they stayed there for, I think, 4 or 5 days and went into very remote areas. So this is something I'm so proud of him, because it gave him a different perspective. Because, you are never, I don't know if you have been, I've not been to a earthquake devastation situation. So what he saw, I'm sure has changed his perspective and changed his life. And yeah, being young and seeing all this stuff, I'm so proud of him. So that's something I'm proud of Octave team and also Rayan to get into this mission.
No, thank you for sharing that. So I reached out to a lot of people, they know you, and I asked them what questions they might have to ask you.
Okay.
So there's one question. How do you stay grounded while operating in high pressure environments?
It's tough sometimes to be, the pressure is high in situations when, when you have to deal with a lot, and especially when you're dealing with such a big, corporate and with so many employees and a lot of investors. The pressure is, I don't feel so much of pressure. I feel responsible for a lot of things I do. Including, both the companies. I feel a lot of responsibility towards investors, towards employees. The fact that I have to sustain myself, my company, because I found a purpose in this long time ago where I thought, this came late to me. Back in 2017, 2018, I came to the office, and this one morning, this girl, she was a single mother. She had just joined CirrusLabs. And when I came this morning, she was so happy. This was like a first week or something. And she thanked me so much at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's that moment of click where I thought, man, I could see the purpose that giving jobs and employment to people and changing their life in a better way is a lot of purpose. Then, of course, everybody's in there for making money. But that to sustain a company like this, but if you're just about money, then the pressure would kill you. I feel good doing business. I take challenges equally well because I want to grow so that I have more people coming and joining the Octave Cirrus family. And that is very helpful for me. So the pressure is different, it's more responsibility. But grounded, I mean, I don't know. This is how I am. I cannot change because, I go from 0 to a billion, or this is how I'm going to be even my next phase of life. This is, I feel grounded. I come from, a family that my dad was a banker. We were in Mumbai growing up like every other middle class family. So I don't think so I'm going to change, and that should never change, honestly.
Well, I personally know how grounded you are because you are also an investor in a lot of cricket tournaments locally in Atlanta.
Yeah.
The way you meet and greet people, it doesn't look like you're coming out as a different personality. It's very easy to have communications from you, learn a lot of good stuff for our career as well. Did you felt a change around your people when you took that one step ahead in life in terms of course, the finances? Most of them, I'm guessing a lot of them might have end up still working their jobs.
People, there are two kinds of people in life. Some people who really are selfless and they like you, and there are some people who always can be in every aspect of life, could not be the most big well-wishers of yourself. It happens. It's obvious. But the friends, the families who know me well, I always feel nice to be around them, even at whatever the situation. In whatever situation they are in, and we are tight. We are close knit. So it's up to you, honestly, as an individual, regardless of what you become. It's not about the money part. You can have fame. You can change. You can go to places. How you connect and be connected, stay in touch with your people. That's how it's totally up to you. But as you grow, sometimes I feel I'm guilty of not connecting because I don't make the calls I used to make on every 2-second day basis with my friends. They used to call me in the middle of the night, So sometimes those things have changed, and some of the close ones along the way have left. Life's different for sure. But my family, I like coming to the work because of, I told you why. As long as you like doing what you're doing, I love working here, coming here, meeting the people. I told you my purpose that makes me happy.
Absolutely.
Going back home, I try to go back home. Like you asked me the question before, what is your 9 to 5, your day look like? I try to be back home by 5, 6. Now, because I can afford to do that, I probably work 24 hours was not enough initially when I started business, but now I have the liberty. So I try to go back home with the family, stay, with my kids. I could probably do more. And that's life. I want to go back to family. I want to come here to enjoy my time and just be purposeful.
How does your wife go about things with how you have managed to climb up in your career?
You cannot do this without the support of your family. I'm sure she's still complaining that I should come at 4 o'clock instead of 5, but that is how every wife is. But it's taken time. It's always things that, she's understood me, that I cannot keep stopping. I have to keep taking challenges, and I have to grow from technology companies to private equity to now we're doing international growth. This is how I am. It's more to do with nothing to do with money. Of course, it's not cliched money, but the legacy, the challenge. The challenge is more important for me. I'd like to do more things. There is not a business I don't think I have done, and some of them I failed, by the way. That I don't enjoy. It's just a matter of just overcoming and becoming successful.
I do remember that you once mentioned to me that you tried doing the Shadi.com type of business, like the matrimonial matchmaking.
Yeah. So this is before while I was working back in 2000. So this is the .com time, right? I really, honestly, it's funny you raised that topic. I registered 2 domains, actually 3. I don't remember the third one. One was findmatch.com, which is like shadi.com, 99. And it was back in 99, and then findcollege.com. One is for matrimonial services, because I knew this made sense in the internet. This could be the right platform for people to meet. I tied up with the designers in India where they can sell their bridal clothing and jewelry. I had a good plan. It went online. It worked for 1 year, but I didn't have the money to pump in more money because of by the time Google came in, the ads, I didn't have the money. But good idea. Then I did findcollege.com, which is for people who are coming, students internationally who want to come here, find colleges. Great platform. It was very nice, but those were the ideas at that point of time. But unfortunately, it didn't succeed. And I think the reason for it because I was not full time. I was still working.
So, if I can summarize the main moral of the point that you just made, is if you are jumping into business, then be full time towards it, right? Give your full time to it, because you just mentioned that 24 hours wasn't enough for you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You can get partners if you want to, if you're working something, but I would definitely, for you to kick off a process, that is one option. Or you have to be full-time to really take an idea or a product or a service and turn into a business. You can't do this part-time. It'll never work, okay? So I would highly recommend the focus should be there once you decide to do it. And everybody has a time to take risk. It's very easy for me to to tell everybody take risk, but a calculated risk can be taken. Your spouse is working, you can take the risk, right? You have some income saved, you have passive income, you can take more risk. These are things you have to take to your own. I always recommend look at the cash flow of your own personal level and then decide to take the risk if you can. So obviously this has to be full-time because otherwise it can quickly fall off.
Are you happy in your life, or you're still chasing something deeper?
You know what, like I told you, I'm content and alhamdulillah with everything that has happened, done so far. The reason I'm doing this is not for honestly, the $1 billion next is not the question. So I really want to grow in terms of knowing what a private equity can become. Coming from an Indian Muslim community background, I think there is a lack of investment platforms for our community as well. I want to see if I can, that is one purpose, I can solve that problem. So second thing is create ourselves to, again, it's once you hit a number, to grow to the next number is, I wouldn't say not easy, but that is a challenge for myself. I would like to do that and actually grow in different avenues, like private equity with commercial real estate in the US real estate. But I always have a rule. You always do 70, this is 70, 30, 10. 70% is your core business that you do. Then along ancillary business, along the same lines, you should do 30%. So that's why when I did US real estate, 70% is there, but 30% I'm focusing on in the growth in the real estate in the Middle East. Okay, and then 10% should be something very new that you create and innovate so that it can be your next stream of income. So you diversify 70-30, and then another 10% you invest something in the next new thing, and it applies to every business. I would say you get your core product service, try to diversify something ancillary around by getting something plugged in, and the 10% additional growth can come with something new invest. You always have to do that. That's how I do it. If you look at my in the technology company, the same thing. This is something I plan for. So the next 10%, what I'm gonna do, I'm working on it.
Well, hopefully we get to know after that gets accomplished and we get to sit down again.
Inshallah.
We'll just do a quick rapid fire round. So one book every founder should read.
This is very cheesy, but Rich Dad Poor Dad is not a bad book.
By Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, but I certainly gave to my kid also to run, but I would definitely do that. But there are 7 Habits is a good book as well for young people, for a successful man. And then, there are a couple of good books, but I like the Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, I was very inspired by that, but so far I'm still not there. Best business decision you ever made?
Best business decision I ever made. I mean, there are a lot of decisions that have gone well. But I think, in my opinion, taking a calculated risk for everything I've done along the way, including jumping into entrepreneurship, going from technology to private real estate equity, These are all risks that I had to take. So I think taking those decisions were important. And then I think my most important thing is I wanted to anchor myself. So Alpharetta being this building that we are sitting in, I wanted to make sure that it is the hub for all my offices.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to move around because commute could be a problem. And then it's close to my house as well. But I feel that time becomes very important at some time. How to manage time when you do business, and the best way is to be calculative about how do you commute, how do you manage your multiple business, especially if you're doing multiple businesses. I think those decisions I've made and how to manage my time was something I think I'm very proud of.
A habit you always swear by.
I think one of the most important things I feel like, and I don't know if it's a habit, but I'm pretty transparent and open about, when I communicate. It's very open. So, and if you're not, then really it's a disservice to you. I'm pretty open and candid to people. I tell them not to sugarcoat anything, what they like, but in a nice way. So I think the way I communicate is an important habit. I'm working on it. Okay, so all the time. So I'm pretty well. I feel proud of being open and transparent to people and how I communicate to them. So that's a good habit I have. I really feel it's an important trait.
Well, that is something I'm still learning.
Yeah.
A habit that is under progress.
Yeah.
Something you're still learning today.
I would still say there's always something to learn, but financial, I would say financial modeling of real complex, I would say, some future ventures, if I have to invest. I think I still have to do a lot of M&A kind of financial modeling that I have done a lot of M&As, by the way, but there's always learn. I did my MBA when I was doing business in 20, and I did my executive MBA. I learned a lot. But I think there is a lot to be learned on the financial side still in terms of M&A side. So which I think I have still a lot to do, because when I do exit this company, if I decide to do exit company, I'm going to be sitting across some smart guys from private banking, investment banking, where I have to negotiate this thing out. So I think that those things I still have to learn.
And a myth about success that needs to die.
A myth about success that needs to die. Wow. Again, it is individual basis. Sometimes people see he is lucky or she is lucky in getting these things done. Luck does play a factor. I'm not saying that it has, because things have to be aligned to do it. But that's just a one-trick pony. You cannot be consistently successful if you don't put the hard work, the discipline, and the luck is not the only thing. Because some people think he's been lucky. That doesn't always happen. It has a lot more sweat, tears that go towards, along with the luck.
Yes.
As well. It cannot just be the luck.
Last but not least, how big a factor did faith play in your life?
Very important for me, because I always have this in the back of the mind, because duas are important. My wife, my family, we're spiritual, and it's very important for us to keep, to always think about our family, our work, our business in the duas, and I think it's very, very integral for me. I don't think I would have been here without the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think there is a lot of duas that have come from my wife, from everybody else that is around me. It's very significant for me. Faith also instills in the business side of things, being honest and integral, which is integrity and honesty is part of our faith. Dealing with people in business in the right way, in terms of money, honesty, reciprocal, way of dealing with people respectfully. This is part of our faith. So I think it's very important, the way it shaped me, the way I deal with people. I think it's very important, and it's played an important role in my life.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you once again for joining us on Still Learning. Your story, your insights, your openness means a lot for me personally as well. I I definitely will be watching this again and again to make sure that I am getting what I'm understanding your perspective of life and also implementing that in my life. And if you're watching this and if you felt that you learned something, and if that's something yeah, you can just continue.
So like
Yeah.
I said,
What would be the one message that you want to say to the people watching this?
let me think about it. This is pretty important. I think you got to be resilient. Be resilient in whatever you do. Personal life, business. Resiliency is important because things are not going to be the same every day, every month, every year. So when I mean resilient, if you're not resilient in your business, you can't be successful because life is not going to be treating, a business is not going to be the same every day. So when things are bad, you need to be resilient and figure out how to pull back up, how to pivot, how to change course. These are important things that a business needs. When you're successful, make sure you make your company more resilient as well by getting the right kind of people around you to scale. Same thing applies in life. Life is not easy sometimes. You got to be resilient. Cannot give up easily. Don't give up. Be resilient. Keep faith in yourself. Be confident in yourself. And then whatever you're good at, keep a focus and discipline. Inshallah, you'll be successful.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Zia, for joining us on Still Learning. It was an honor, a lot to learn from you. For people who are watching, if you felt there was any value that you might instill in your life, please do like, share, and subscribe. And also do follow us on other social media platforms. And I'm also going to attach Zia Rahman's LinkedIn and Octave Holdings link in our description below. Keep learning, keep showing up, keep leveling up. This is your host Abdullah Quadri, and you're still watching Still Learning with Abdullah Quadri.